about this woman. She left, and for 2 days I thought about her. So I went to the meeting. I called her up. She brought me to a meeting. In the whole meeting I cried, struggling to maintain. So for 2 years I begged Krishna and I begged Prabhupada, respectively, for their mercy. I came to India. I went to Bhubaneswar temple somehow, and when I walked on the property, although I saw many people speak, I wasn't attracted. So when I went to Bhubaneswar, I walked on the property with another devotee. A devotee came to me, took off my pack, offered us a place to stay, offered us prasadam, took the pack off my back and said, 1 minute. We said, yes, Prasad, why are you so personal to me? And he said, oh, Guru Maharaj. I said, can I see your Guru? So he allowed me to go in. I paid Dandavat and I was in front of Gurudev, and he was so much like a father to me. And he talked to me so sweetly and told me, yes, you come and stay. Next year you come and stay. I'll make one room for you, you come stay. So I went back to America, and I had begged the Deity to build a temple for 2 years. And there were so many different plans that were being made, but no money. Then some money came, and I was told that we would be able to start the temple. But there was a VIHE program going on, a Vaishnav Institute for Higher Education. So they said, oh, you can't start the temple now. I said, but Prabhupada said in Bombay when they were banging and building a temple, they said, Prabhupada, do you want him to stop the noise? He said, no, they're building a temple for Radha Krishna. This is music to my ears. So anyway, I couldn't build a temple, so I was very sad. Walking back to the ashram, one boy approached me, are you okay? I said, yeah, I can't build a temple. I want to start because of the VIHE program. He said, that's okay, don't worry. He said, you come and see Gour Govinda Maharaj is coming to. And I said, Gour Govinda Maharaj? I said, oh, I met him in Bhushaweshwar. I couldn't remember Bhubaneswar. Anyway, when I saw that night, I went to that class, and the invocation to the class, Gurudev's invocation, completely saturated my mind. How he was chanting with such conviction, so clear of his nature, how he was. After 5 minutes of him speaking after the invocation, and he was sitting just next to Srila Prabhupada, immediately in my physically, I said, this is Prabhupada. Prabhupada has come to me. I was completely convinced at that moment. And from that moment on, till the day he left here, 27 years ago, I was very fortunate to be present by Srila Gurudev's mercy in that room. And what transpired from the time that I met him till he left is the same as the beginning of his life till the end of his life. The Bhagavatam disappears. Just like the Bhakta Bhagavata. The Bhakta Bhagavata, he appears and there are many things that occurred prior to his disappearance. There was a festival that got brought by the GBC because it was 100 years of Srila Prabhupada's birth. So the GBC, they forced this celebration onto Srila Gurudev. He was not wanting to have it. He asked them not to do it at this time because in Nityananda Trayodasi, if you've ever been to Bhubaneswar, it's the biggest festival in Bhubaneswar. It goes on for several days, and there's so much glorification of Nityananda because of what Nityananda represents. So anyway, They forced it on him, so Gurudev accepted. And they set up this big pandal in the number 1. And in that pandal, Gurudev spoke every day in front of 5,000 people. Every day. Speaking so strongly. And one day, the king of Puri came. And we know the king of Puri. He's known as an incarnation of Indradumna. And the Oriya people, in general, they also realize that the king of Puri, he only pays dandavat to Jagannath, nobody else. Because he's an incarnation. So he doesn't pay dandavat to anybody. When the king of Puri came that day, I was there. He came and he paid respect to everybody, and when he got in front of Gurudev, he paid full dandavat on the ground. Full pranam. And he stood up and touched Gurudev's feet. And Gurudev spoke. The reason that I'm telling you this story is because after Gurudev left, my godbrother Jagat Jivan, Pradosh's father, Pradosh is the one who's arranging everything here today. His father came to me one day, maybe 5-6 days after, and he said, Prabhu, I have to tell you a story. I have to tell you a story. I said, what, Prabhu? He said, there was a man standing in front of Gurudev's room, crying, sobbing, and I didn't know him. I did not recognize him. So I asked him, who are you? And he goes, oh, I'm the reporter for the newspaper here in Bhubaneswar. He goes, this person is a pure devotee of the Lord. He's pure. He's completely pure. He said, what are you saying? What do you mean? He goes, after Maharaj. And he finally answered me. He turned and he said, what do you want? He said, we know you as the incarnation of Indradumna, and you only paid dandavat to Jagannath, but you paid dandavat to this simple sannyasi. Why? And he said, don't you know this is Jagannath moving around the world? The king of Puri, of all people. He could have some realization about how divine Gurudev's nature was. This is one story. And there are many, many stories. Before we left Bhubaneswar, I was in the ashram and I went to Gurudev and I asked, Gurudev, is it possible I come to Puri, to Mayapur during the meetings? He said, yes, you come. Many things are there for you. I didn't question. I didn't ask, what is there for me, Gurudev? No, I did not ask. He just said, many things are there for you. So I accepted. Another one of my godbrothers came to me a couple of days later, and we were sitting talking, and he said, I went to ask Gurudev if I could go to Mayapur. I said, what did he say? He said, no, why are you going there? There's nothing for you there. Gurudev used to speak so clearly about seeing Krishna or seeing the sun. Can the scientists produce the sun at the midnight? No. Only by the mercy of the sun can we see the sun. Similarly, only by the mercy of Krishna can we see Krishna, not by our own endeavor. So Gurudev told him no, and I said, oh, okay. Anyway, there was a meeting in the Brahmachari ashram. There was a meeting, and there was a plywood wall, and several of my godbrothers were having a meeting, and they were meeting about protecting Gurudev. And I was on the other side of the plywood wall, laying in my bunk. And my mood, how I perceive His divine grace, of course we all have a different perception and we all see different things. There's no doubt about it, because we're all individuals. And Gurudev came here to protect us. He came here to take us out from this place. So I listened to this conversation, how they wanted to protect Gurudev. So after some time, I became a little bit agitated, So I went to the door and I knocked. I said, Hare Krishna. I said, do any of you think Gurudev is any less than Prahlad Maharaj? Do you think he's less than Prabhupada? Do you think he's any less than any of these great stalwart devotees? I said, he came to protect us. We cannot protect him. Not possible. And I left and I went and I laid in my bed again. And they continued their meeting. They had some desire to protect Guru, which is nothing wrong with that at all. So then a couple of days later, Acharya Ratna, my godbrother, who told me Gurudev told him he couldn't go, he came to me and he said, I'm going to Mayapur. I said, what? He said, yes, the person that was heading up the meeting for protecting Gurudev, he went and asked Gurudev to bring somebody, a bodyguard, to protect Gurudev. And he said, they chose me. And Gurudev said, yes, you bring. Anyway, so we got to Mayapur, and they were having a meeting in front of the room. And again, I said, why are you still thinking you can protect Gurudev? And they said, Hare Krishna. And I said, Hare Krishna. And I didn't say anything more. And they were all leaving as I was sitting there chanting. And the last one was Acharya Ratna. And he said to me, Prabhu. And I said, yes, Prabhu. And he said, they asked me to have somebody help me to protect Gurudev. I said, what do you want from me? He said, would you help me? I said, what do you want me to do? Stop people from going in that room that's on the other side is Goloka Vrindavan. Krishna is there in his heart. So this is Vrindavan. If you want me to stop like Jai and Vijay, the protector of the gate, somebody that wants to come in that's not allowed, I can ask, please don't go, please don't go. But this is my only thing I can do. I can't protect Gurudev. He's protected by Krishna. Can you come at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and stay till 11 at night in the doorway? I said, yes, I can do. He said, I'll come in the Mangalarti and I'll stay. I'll go eat breakfast and I'll go away and I'll come back and then you take over in the afternoon. I said, okay, I can do. So I went, that was in the morning, and I went away. I came back at 2:30 and I was waiting for Gurudev to come down from the GBC meeting. 2 of my godbrothers from Australia were sitting in the corner right next to Gurudev's room. And the thought of Gurudev was flooding my mind. The mind resides in the region of the heart, as we know. And I could not stop thinking of Gurudev. The thought was full. I know how much I can think, but he was prompting. There's no doubt in my heart that he was making me think of him. And I wanted to go, and they said, no, don't go. He's busy, he's busy. Don't go. So I sat down for 5 more minutes, and the thought was too much. It was too much, full in my heart. So I said, Prabhu, I'm going to get Gurudev. And I started walking, and at that time there was no elevator there. Now elevator is there. And the stairway was a little steeper, and there was a doorway. And I looked up, and there's Gurudev in the doorway with no Acharya Ratna, no, all people around him that I didn't know. And I threw myself on the floor, and I begged his mercy, please excuse me, Gurudev. And I said his pranam. And then he got to the bottom of the stairs, and I put my head on his feet, and I hugged his ankle. And I said, Gurudev, please excuse me. Please excuse me. I didn't think of you enough. You were prompting me to come and get you. Nobody here you know. Please excuse me, Gurudev. Tomorrow you bring book. That's all he said to me. And he went into the room. So I stood in front of his room because the person who was supposed to be there protecting him, quote unquote, was not there. An hour later, he came. I said, where were you? Gurudev went to the meeting without you. He said, Prabhu, I fell asleep. I went for breakfast and I slept 4 hours. I couldn't wake up. I just woke up now. I'm coming. So I stayed. That was my time from 3 till 11. Next morning, Gurudev's disappearance day. I went at 9 Huh? Next phase. Next phase? Oh. Sorry, I can't continue.
You will continue later on.
Yeah, but maybe a lot of these people want to hear now, and they won't be here later.
They will be. No problem.
Hello. Am I not speaking clear enough? Oh, I'm sorry. Please excuse me. I guess I have to stop.
So like I mentioned, we will have 3 phases. The events leading up to the Disappearance Day. The events leading up to the Disappearance Day. So we have covered that now. The Disappearance Day itself. So we will ask you back. And then after the Disappearance Day. So three different sections. So we have many devotees came now to attend the program. So if anyone is in a hurry and would like to speak now, they can come forward. Otherwise, I got a list of devotees who want to say something. That is Gaura Nidai Prabhu, Sarvadrikdas, Bhakti Dhirat Damodar Swami, His Holiness Sukadev Goswami, and His Holiness Bhakta Karuna Mai Swami. So I don't have an order, and if anyone would like to say now, I would please like to invite them to glorify. Prabhu, Maharajas. Everybody is pointing to you, Maharaj, so please come.
Srila Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj ki. Srila Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj Tirobha Mahasvatidi ki. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Caitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayan Rupa Kadama Yandadati Swapadantakam. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So I think this is the second time right here at Mayapur only I'm taking part in the Tirobha Mahotsav of Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj. Like for most of the ISKCON devotees, he is a source of inspiration. After Prabhupada, he is one of the exalted Vaishnavas. So, wherever we were, in whichever part of the world, we had the fortune to hear about the power and purity of Maharaj, and I had the opportunity to meet him right there in Bhubaneswar. my Guru Maharaj, Kirtan Swami, he left ISKCON, and we were all back in ISKCON. And I felt secure and sheltered to take shelter of another senior Vaishnava. So I thought I should meet Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj, take the association, and just with that intention, I went to Bhubaneswar, and he was there giving Bhagavatam class at the time. I had a quick shower. I travelled from Nellore to Bhubaneswar, and I was put up in the guest house, and then Maharaj was giving class. That was the first time I was attending directly the class. Like we hear the classes, but directly in his presence. Generally, like we all have time that from Bhagavatam 8 to 9 o'clock, 5 minutes, this way, that you close the class. So I was also thinking like that. So I sat there, and he was shouting, he was daunting, and he was singing, going on, and the class went up to 11:30. I thought, I misunderstood that is there some time to close the class for Bhagavatam or not? So I think the Leela Sukha Prabhu was there, and one of his persons who edits his books. I don't see him here, the Prabhuji. And I just said, and I said, we are all his disciples, and as you have seen, the katha is going on so powerful, and who has the to move from here, no, what? And only later, slowly, I came to know that when he's in the class, he speaks naturally, and then he makes sure that his disciples got the message. And during his physical presence, like it said, you cannot recognize a Param Bhagavat because they act for Krishna's pleasure. They cannot be, So later on, we purchased his books one after the other, almost all the books, and it was a different katha from than regular, where he's so learned, so scholarly, and he was so much into. So all like unheard nectar in the Bhagavatam, and driving the message and point that you cannot forget. So that way, like the Siksha Guru for most of the followers of Prabhupada, and his birth, that Gopalji book, I read it twice maybe, and I visited that Gadagiri. I'll be reading that book. Let me go to that sacred place. And there's such a big temple there, Gadagiri. And read that book, and the association he had with Prabhupada. It's all simply, you can say, like he is born to do Vaishnava. He was born with a mission, and his birth was glorious, his activities were glorious, the departure, as we all heard that while speaking about Jagannath Katha right here in Mayapur, and he left. So that means nobody has any room to this thing. It has to be that is a born glorious Vaishnava. So after Prabhupada, he was also a source of great inspiration for many of Prabhupada's disciples also. And his books we read, and anytime you want to feel, there's a little similarity between Prabhupada and Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj. Even naturally speaking, and very, devotionally touching kind of classes. A lot of doubts devotees have after Prabhupada's departure. People have found, devotees have found answers from the lectures of Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj. The books written by him, books compiled from his lectures, they're an authentic source of Vaishnava literature, that people can find answers from them. And personally for me, I thought, I spent 3 days in Bhubaneswar. Why? Because I went there to find out somebody whom I can surrender to, but because it was not in a good fortune, And then later, how devotees who are on spontaneous platform, so not easy to, unless you go on associating with them, see them, not easy to recognize them just like that. Not many people are there like that, not many devotees. So I am also indebted, like his initiated disciples, for the source of inspiration he was to me. Many things are there from his personal life which I don't think I should go on speaking. I'm very thankful and happy to be part of the celebration today here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, you want to speak some?
Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Salakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri
Gurave Namaha. His Holiness Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj Tirupati ki jai. His Divine Grace Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj ki jai. I feel very much fortunate to be in the association of the wonderful devotees, exalted Vaishnavas, disciples of His Holiness, His Divine Grace, Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj. For me, the books compiled by Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj disciples, the books, the lectures was giving a lot of insight into how to practice Krishna consciousness and how to get more closer to Srila Prabhupada, and how Srila Prabhupada is a great Acharya. So in a way, His Holiness Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj was filling up the vacuum which was created after Srila Prabhupada's disappearance. There was a kind of a feeling that after Srila Prabhupada, what will happen? So, as a very powerful Acharya, Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj was giving confidence, and there was also a time that many Prabhupada disciples and followers and second generation, they were feeling insecure that is Srila Prabhupada just giving us the basics, and there was kind of a pull from other areas to increase the numbers, to take pull people out of ISKCON, saying that there are better avenues, you have much more nectar there. So that's the time Gour Govinda Maharaj was a very powerful source of inspiration, and he helped all the devotees to have confidence in Srila Prabhupada and continue. So, what I would like to say is, Srila Prabhupada always had a confidence in Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj, and there are times when in Bhubaneswar, Mayapur and Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada is to have conversation, and what was being spoken, others could not understand. It was like on Nityananda Appearance Day, it was said that, Nityananda Prabhu and Caitanya Mahaprabhu is to speak. What others, they were speaking, but others could not understand what is happening. So that's how. So it is said that like an Acharya recognizes an Acharya, Srila Prabhupada gave a lot of tasks, and Gour Govinda Maharaj fulfilled all the tasks given to him by his spiritual master. At the same time, he was in a mission to tell the world that Srila Prabhupada has given us everything, and by bringing confidence in Srila Prabhupada, we will get everything and there is nothing that Srila Prabhupada has not given. That's the thing which Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj was giving to all the ISKCON disciples. And as an Acharya, he lived, and an Acharya, he disappeared. And he showed to the world that how to be close to Srila Prabhupada, how to, like we say in Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna's birth is divine. So we find that Maharaj birth is divine, his activity is divine, even his disappearance is divine. So today we are celebrating Maharaj's disappearance day, the auspicious Falgun Panchami is also the appearance of His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance, founder Acharya of Gaudiya Math, spiritual master for our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Just speaking about Jagannath pastimes, he is showing us that this is how we should have a divine disappearance also. It's very, very, definitely it's painful for the disciples and many ISKCON devotees, but he's showing us that it is possible that we practice Krishna consciousness purely, we can also have a pure disappearance also. So that, so we see that Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj has inspired so much that now his disciples are taking wonderful message and inspiring more. And for generations to come, his books, his lectures will be inspiring and giving us a direction and also installing our faith in Srila Prabhupada. So, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam, his divine, his activities are divine, his disappearance is also divine. He is an Acharya, like Srila Prabhupada said, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhithanama dharmasya tadatmanam srijami aham. The word aham stands for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says aham also stands for acharyas. They come when there is a fall in dharma. So aham stands for acharyas, like Krishna says, acharyaman vijamiham. So that Krishna himself says, I am acharya. So that aham stands for acharya. So the same stands for yada yada dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata bhyathanama dharmasya tadatmanam srijam aham. So His Divine Grace Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj came here when there was a fall in decline in dharma after Srila Prabhupada's disappearance. So he came to again rise the dharma in that vacuum. So with this, I would like to give rest to my talk, glorification. I pray that the love His Divine Grace has for Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, drop of it also I receive. I will feel I'll feel I'm fortunate. His Divine Grace, Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj ki Jai.
So I hope that the following on my list here are ready to say something. Gaunanitai Prabhu, please come. Our God brother Leela Avatar Prabhu, he felt a bit upset that I had to interrupt him with his glorification. As I mentioned, we do it in 3 phases, and I explained to him yesterday. Still he was upset, so he left. Happens sometimes, but we will have enough to say about what happened on the day and the day after, and in the events afterwards. Always transparent, so I'm just mentioning this, just to understand why he will not come back. Let's hope he will come back, he changes his mind, but Prabhu, floor is yours.
Hare Krishna. As you heard that my name is Gaunanitai Das. I came from a little country from Europe, very little. All the inhabitants are 10 millions or less. And we started Krishna consciousness practically in 1989. Then Srila Shivaram Maharaj came and he started to really preach in this remote country. And we started to do Harinam, book distribution, and I joined at that time. I would like to mention about Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj 3 points. One is the latest, which is very much affecting my life. One of his disciples, as you mentioned, Shripad Madhavendra Prabhu, he just grabbed my mind, grabbed my heart with him, and when I was alone in a not so much remote country in French, to perhaps to them, I was feeling so alone. Then I asked some help, I asked for some association, and he was ready to allow me to step into his intimate group. And from that time, almost every week, we have a Sangha. And that's really, really affecting my life, because I see that he is representative purely Gour Govinda Maharaj. And that I saw when by his inspiration, I started to translate with a little group, his biography, when the good fortune arises. And from that book I could understand that, no, I have a really good fortune arise, because there is a person whom I can associate, of course online mostly, but at least regularly. And there is a person who through his books is really giving the same thing, the clear understanding of Srila Prabhupada's teaching. And by translating that book, discussing in this small group, what does it mean, how is it working like that, it was my second wake up, I could say, because devotees are practicing Krishna consciousness, but sometimes you have some time when you are not really fully conscious. So, but that two association by Gour Govinda Maharaj through his book, or through his life, and his teaching, and his disciple, wake me up again. I have to say wake me up again, because first time when I met with him, it was in 1995. As you mentioned, that summer was a European tour. One of the places in that tour was Hungary. he was invited by Srila Maharaj, and he came to our Rath Yatra. And there is nothing, by chance. So Gour Govinda Maharaj, as a person, is a Jagannath man. And he came to the Rath Yatra, which is mostly the biggest affair in Hungary for public. And at that time, after 5 years for start, we were really, really young devotees. We did Harinam Sankirtan, but not the Bhagavatam was already translated, so we didn't study Bhagavatam, we just have a basic understanding. But for the Rath Yatra, we were really, really advertising this program for everywhere. So people came around from everywhere in Hungary, and all devotees came, about maybe 600 devotees came together. And that Rath Yatra is like a summer festival, it's not a serious transcendental preaching generally. We invite people and we have a light conversation with them. But that Rath Yatra was different because of Gour Govinda Maharaj. So we met with him on that boat in a nice summer place in Hungary, in Budapest, in the capital, in the center of Budapest. And we are very happily, chanting, dancing all the streets of this capital. And also the history is that 1 year before we were regretting to really preach, because we were by the government told that we are a sect. We are a harmful sect. And after 1 year, we could really recover that fame. And that was the first Rath Yatra after that moment. Then we got back our good reputation. So everyone was happy. Everyone was really, enjoying in mood. And then Gour Govinda Maharaj came to the program and he gave class. And which was really very special for devotees, for people in general not. They just saw an old Indian man. And they were really curious what he will speak about Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra, coming from India. They were genuine person. And what we saw, but maybe people didn't recognize, the translator, the person of the translator. Can you imagine who was the translator? Srila Swami Maharaj. For us, he was a god, We were, doing for him everything. And then, at that moment, he's sitting in a low place, and Gour Govinda Maharaj sitting in a chair, and he started to translate for him. So for us, for devotees, it was a really amazing moment, and we could recognize that he dealt with Gour Govinda Maharaj like we could imagine, like with Prabhupada. So then the class started, and then you can imagine that the big change happened, because Gour Govinda Maharaj was at that moment also Gour Govinda Maharaj, so he didn't stop him. He didn't say that, okay, I speak a little bit light speech. He started to speak very loudly, and then started to speak about, you have to surrender now. And he was really loudly pushing everyone, and he's pointing out, you have to surrender, don't wait in Maya. And that was the class. It was a really big class, just blow up the mood of enjoying the summer festival. And that was a really good impression. And then he came to the temple, and every day he was supposed to give class. So you can imagine a small temple, about 40, 50 devotees, or maybe with congregation 100 devotees. So everyone came together, and Sankirtan stopped. I was then the Sankirtan leader, and I was a little bit afraid. What about the money? How we get the quota? But there was no compromising. Gour Govinda Maharaj gave class. In a normal time he started, and he didn't finish in normal time. And After 1 hour, still he didn't finish. After 2 hours, still he didn't finish. And you know, all the Sankirtan devotees have a stomach ache at that moment because we have a big feast always before Sankirtan. You should eat a lot. So we were really hungry. But we was informed that to go out from his class is the biggest offense. That Shivaram Maharaj was standing on the door. That moment, we have other difficulties, that we have only good English speakers, Matajis. And you can know Gour Govinda Maharaj's nature, he would never sit near to a Mataji. So how to translate? So the point was that Mataji translator was sitting a little bit further, one Prabhu was sitting near to Maharaj, and they have this line of translation. And that a little bit slowed down the program, but Govinda Maharaj was always, you know, a nice evolutionary person. When he saw that this slowing down the people and started to sit like that, he started to chant, and he started to relate to a Jagannath pastime. So everyone was really, really frightened up, and he was chanting so quickly that no one could follow him on Midanga and Karatal. So it was a little bit confusion, but he didn't stop. He just chanted unknown songs, and he was really amazed. So that was for 3 days in Hungary that changed our mood. And he was also always pushing, why you don't see Krishna? How you love Krishna if you don't see him? And he was so personal for everyone. But when he came out, when he finished the class, he was so humble. So he again became a very small person, very humble, went out. He was never showing that how great person he is. So that I wanted to share with you from a remote country. Then that person could wake up many persons, many people have to ask, have to thank for him, have to say that he was one of the biggest preacher in Hungary. So thank you very much to be here with your association. Hare Krishna. And thank you for him.
Thank you, Prabhu. So Damani Mataji just requested me, because more people are now in the hall, just to move a little more to the front. And also the prasadam coupons are being distributed now. Prasadam at 2 o'clock in the Sulok kitchen. We will finish here at 1:45 p.m., which is like 1.5 hours more after this. So some devotees, Prabhus, and they registered to glorify. If anyone, I thought Maharaj, you were coming some little later. If you want to say something, it's possible. And otherwise, those who want to have to leave right now or coming later, they can also, we can accommodate for that. I have one name here, Sarvadrik Prabhu. Are you ready to speak something? Or
Haribo. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Gour Govinda Swami Niti Namini. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prajarane Nirvishesha Sannavadi Paschatya Deshatane Vancha Kopadubhyascha Kripa Sindhavivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namaha. So today we're observing a special festival, and it should be understood very clearly. What is this festival? Union in separation. Someone may ask, what is this? How is it possible? Union on one side and separation on the other? These are opposite points of view. But this is the essence of our philosophy that was taught by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and the Sadguru Swamis. How to be with someone when they're gone. And this is important for all of us as ISKCON devotees, because all of your gurus are also elderly from a material point of view. And as the disciples of Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj have experienced the separation of their guru, you will also experience the same thing. Am I right? Yes. So this should be understood, how to associate with guru. Are the disciples of Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj, are they bereft of their guru? Is he gone from their life because he's physically gone? Can we say that? Impossible. Is Srila Prabhupada gone from my life, from your life, because he's not physically present? Impossible. So how do we get Krishna? We get Krishna by the association of devotees, whether they're present or absent. Because devotee is always present by his siksha, by his vani. Srila Prabhupada emphasized, he hammered this over and over again. Vani seva and vapu seva. Vapu seva is temporary because the body itself is temporary. But vani seva is eternal, and this is the necessity of having guru. Because when we leave this world, in some blessed day we're able to enter the kingdom of God, there has to be guru to engage you in the service of the Lord. No one approaches Krishna directly. We approach Krishna through the service of the spiritual master. Therefore Shastra tells us, Rahuganai tattapasanayati nachechaya nirvapanat grihadva tachandasa naivaja lagnasuyar vinamahatpada rajobhishekam. Unless you take the dust of the lotus feet of a spirit, of a pure devotee, you cannot get Krishna. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur prayed, Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite par, tomara shakatiyache. Amito Kanga, Krishna, Krishna bole, dai tava pache pache. He says, I'm Kanga, I'm a beggar, I'm fallen soul. But Krishna is yours. Krishna se tomar. And because he's yours, Krishna dite par, you can give him to me. So how do we get Krishna? We get Krishna from Guru. How do we engage in Krishna's service? In the kingdom of God, under the direction of our Guru, who is also present within the kingdom of God. We sing every morning, Nikunja yono ratikeli siddhya yayaliver yuktir apekshaniya. Guru is making tasteful arrangements for the service of Radha Krishna and the Nikunjas of Goloka. Who is helping him? Is he there by himself? His disciple is also engaged. Guru is engaging us in the service of Radha Krishna eternally. As it is here, it is there. So we have to understand how to associate with Guru in his absence, how to have union with Guru in his physical separation, how to get the dust, padaraja, how to get the dust of the lotus feet of Guru when he's gone. Can we take dust from Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet? He's gone from our vision. Can we take dust from this great devotee's Paramahamsa Thakur? Can we get dust from his lotus feet? He's also gone from our vision. How do we get that dust? By Vani Seva. By serving the mission, by serving the words, by hearing. Just like we heard previously, His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu was here with us by sound vibration. He's there in Hungary, I believe, and he's with us, but he's not with us. He's absent, but he's present by sound vibration. Guru is with us by sound vibration, by following his instruction. By serving his mission, we get the dust, this transcendental dust. Piles and piles of transcendental Vani Seva dust is available from the lotus feet of spiritual master. by Vani Seva, by hearing. In my own personal life, I read this book, Embankment of Separation. I think I read it 3 times. And I need to read it 30 times to grasp the tattva that is presented there by His Divine Grace, Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj. Such an important book. All his books, such an important contribution to the welfare of this ISKCON society. So how do we take advantage of that? Hearing. How is Krishna understood? Tam bhakti yoga paribhajaka, tam bhakti yogam. I'm forgetting now. Old age. That we hear by sutekshara, nanupata, that we understand Krishna through our ear. Pravishnakarna randrena swanam bhava saroradam. That when the sound vibration enters our ear and enters our heart, we see Krishna not with our eye. We see Krishna with our ear. So when we hear the instructions of such Paramahansa Thakurs who are directly experiencing relationship with the Lord, who have come from the kingdom of God, we say, Hey Guru Jnanada Dinabandho Sanandadata Kurunaika Sindho Vrindavanasina Hitavatara Prasida Radha Pranayapachara. The Vrindavanasina Hitava means he's come directly from Goloka. This is this devotee. He's not one of us, conditioned souls. He was never a conditioned soul. He came here to pull us back to that world. Vrindavanasina Hitavatara, he's come from that world to bring us back to that world of Goloka. And if we hear from him, if we follow him, we'll also go there. And that is the importance of hearing from Sri Guru. And that is the resolution of this apparent contradiction of union and separation. We have union with the devotees. All our tomorrow is the disappearance. Or appearance? Saraswati Thakur? Appearance. No, tomorrow, Prabhu. Tomorrow, it depends which Panjika you're following. It's observed here, many mats are observing tomorrow. Anyway, so Mahatiti Mahamotsav, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So is it just a festival of fruits and flowers? We arrange some flowers very beautifully, and we offer some food, and we have a big feast. Is that it all? Is that all it is? And we have relationship with these personalities by hearing Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj. By hearing, by serving, by Vani Seva. Then there is union, even though we are separated from him from a material point of view. Thank you very much. Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON ki jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. I just heard about it. You are from Hungary. It's a very small country, you say. But many years ago, so many 100 years, Hungary ruled Europe, isn't it? So another small country where Srila Gurudev went to is Suriname, South America, just to the north of Brazil. He stayed only for 3 days, but he left an impression there that there was one teenage boy, and he saw Gurudev, was inspired. He went to Bhubaneswar, did some seva. He took initiation from Radha Govinda Swami. And now he is in Suriname organizing Bhagavad Saptaha and distributing Bhagavad Gita to the president, the vice president, parliamentarians. So you can see when a great personality comes in a small country, how it impacts even after so many years. So I would like to invite now Mataji, Sri Devi, please.
Please accept my humble obeisances. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. It is a great honor and a privilege to be here to glorify His Divine Grace, Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj. I was not privileged to meet His Holiness in person, but a few years ago I came across his books. And I started reading those books, one of which was on Guru Tattva. It was so compelling that I understood when Srila Prabhupada said, purity is the force. I understood that he is a divine personality, very powerful, very strong, and very pure. Because the book was so compelling and crystal clear in his message. There was no doubt, there was no confusion about what is Guru. So I was deeply impressed and I wanted to find out more. And then I started reading about Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj, his birth, his life, his mission. Then I came across Bindu Caitanyamrita, such a beautiful publication. Pure Krishna Katha. And then I found out that Madhvananda Prabhu is a disciple of Gour Govinda Maharaj. So it became very clear that the message is coming through his disciple to all of us. And I began regularly reading Bindu Caitanyamrita, and it was very, very wonderful to read it and gain that knowledge that is coming through. Then after a few years, I heard my Guru Maharaj saying, I want to attend the Tirobhav Tithi of Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj. So I became curious about his departure. And when I heard about the transcendental, glorious departure of this great soul, it made me resolve that I'm going to stay in Krishna consciousness because I want to depart like this. It was so compelling. And it made me understand that great personalities have come by Lord Chaitanya's order to spread this mission of Krishna consciousness all over the world and give every soul in any body, in any part of the world, it doesn't matter, your gender, your nationality, your educational status, your socio-economic status, your orientation, it doesn't matter. Every soul is dear to Krishna. And each of us has an equal opportunity to go back home, back to Krishna, thanks to these pure personalities who have come to save us. So I want to thank His Divine Grace, Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj, for coming, as Prabhu said, from the spiritual world to give us this message of Krishna consciousness to one and all. And we have all heard, each and every one of His disciples, whether male or female, how loving, how fatherly he was to each and every one. Once a lady disciple of Srila Prabhupada asked, Srila Prabhupada, are women really less intelligent? And Prabhupada said, if you think you're a woman, you really are less intelligent. We are not women, men, American, Indian, Chinese, etc. We are spirit souls, eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. That's who we really are. And we have come down here and we are suffering. And these great souls come to teach by the example how to go back home. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
So like I mentioned before, we would tell something about the phase 2, the actual day that Srila Gurudev left. And in that room 82, where Gurudev was staying, we were staying in the room next to that. Before going into that day, when I met Gurudev in '94, during his lectures, he was always emphasize it is important to have the dust of the lotus feet of the sadhu, the remnants, and the foot washing water from the guru. So these three things were available, But I never got the opportunity to massage my Gurudev. He came to our house in '95, and we were arranging so many things, and so many devotees came to visit the house and massage Gurudev. But somehow I didn't get the opportunity in their own house to massage Gurudev. So that was my bad karma. Anyhow, on that day, as Gurudev finished his talk about the Leela, the Jagannath Katha, and he said, I cannot speak anymore, please excuse me. The door connecting the two rooms, there was a loud knock, and then I entered into that room. And I saw Gurudev sitting on the bed in lotus position, raising his arms in the sky, and I looked at him. And after that, he lied down on the bed, and that was the opportunity for me to massage him. So I never had the opportunity, and then at the last moment, we were able to massage his hand, his feet, hoping that he would come back to consciousness. And devotees like Rasikananda Prabhu, Leela Avtar Prabhu, they went to look for doctors who can help in this situation, because they were away for a long time. After like half an hour, they said, "You go also look for a doctor." And so I left after massaging for half an hour. And later on, we heard that one of the Ayurvedic doctors, they said, "There's no heart attack. He is in samadhi." And he's in bhava. So for us it was devastating, of course, because it's Srila Prabhupada, the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they knew that he was going to leave his body. He requested everybody who would was invited to come to Vrindavan to take his leave from Srila Prabhupada. And for us it was quite a shock. And I want to read at this point something from the biography of Srila Gurudev. It is something that Bhagavad Maharaj now, he said in a Vyas Puja in 1978, and it is included here in this book, about Srila Prabhupada. So, just as a reference, what happened to the disciples of Gurudev. So, Bhagavad, he said, "I returned to Vrindavan after 2 weeks in Orissa. I was determined this time to stay until Srila Prabhupada had recovered completely, or he had left. I did not realize at that time how things would turn out, and in a great anticipation and anxiety, sat in the station in Delhi waiting for the train to Mathura. When I arrived there in Mathura and then finally Vrindavan, I was greatly excited. I jumped out of the car and offered obeisances to Vrindavan Dham. I arose and saw Aksayananda Maharaj coming toward the temple with Bhagatji from Bhagatji house. I inquired from him the condition of Prabhupada's health. And he was told the doctor had just pronounced that he has 5 hours left, said Aksayananda Swami. I was thunderstruck. I could not believe it. I dropped all my luggage in the lobby and ran inside, filthy from 2 days ride on the train. Srila Prabhupada was lying there in his bed, glowing like 1,000 suns. His bodily luster was incomparable. I reached out my hand to touch him, and then I felt a surcharge with spiritual ecstasy. But I was overwhelmed with grief. I just stood there, very numb and shocked condition, repeating over and over again, isn't there any way it could change? Could he not stay? Then I was amazed as all the devotees were massaging him. I was standing at his head, massaging his head, rendering the last bit of personal service, when suddenly Srila Prabhupada began to roll from side to side, flailing his arms in the air, back and forth, and then roaring very loudly. then belching with tremendous force. Then again he was rolling and roaring, and then still completely as if stunned, then trembling and crying, tears gliding down from his eyes. I was stunned. He had shown us the most astounding display of transcendental ecstasy that we had ever seen or ever would see in the future. It was amazing. I thought to myself that everything I had read about in his books was now being revealed. That evening, Srila Prabhupada passed away, leaving of his own volition, and I was feeling greatly disturbed. At first, it was shock, then shamelessly crying at his feet. I abandoned all sense of sanity, and in all of this confusion of crying and screaming and banging of heads and fists against the walls. So, this was what Bhagavad Maharaj spoke on the disappearance of Srila Prabhupada. And just as a reference for us, those of us who were there, we were completely devastated. So many ISKCON sannyasis, they came to the room. I didn't take anything from that room. Not from Gurudev's body, not the flowers, nothing, not his personal things. Later on I was told that so many godbrothers, they took, some garments, some this, some that. But, if your mind is in such a state, you're not thinking in the least about thinking some of the paraphernalia of the Guru. So then it was discussed, will we put in Samadhi in Mayapur or back to Bhubaneswar? It was decided we would go to Bhubaneswar. And Srila Gurudev was put in a palanquin and brought to the temple. Srila Prabhupada, the Murti of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was there. Panchatattva Hall was not there at that time. Narsingadev and the main altar, Radha Madhava. So like today in the procession, we took the photo of Gurudev to Prabhupada, Narsingadev and Radha Madhava and Panchatattva. We also took him to the Prabhupada Pushpa Samadhi, and then Srila Gurudev had his own car, so he was taken in the car to Bhubaneswar. And all the devotees, all the disciples, we took in a bus following them. It took a ride of 17 hours, 17. And normally there are, some devotees are quiet by nature. You have some more devotees who speak a lot, like Madhananda Prabhu. But he was also very quiet during the whole 17 hours. Bhaktarupa Prabhu was there. So many people. And all of us were thinking, actually when in the room 82 when Gurudev just left, Bhaktarupa was there. And I asked him, did he leave or not? And I saw Bhaktarupa with his eyes only directing, it's quite obvious he left, isn't it? But for us it was not, you cannot accept that. And in the whole 17 hours in the bus, we were thinking, Gurudev has performed so many miracles, and in Bhubaneswar, and also here in Mayapur, 97. He, for 4 months, first he was in the temple room. There was a program. It was heavy kirtan, and he just fainted. And 2 of his godbrothers took him to the room where Lagodi Prabhu would take care of him. But also the doctors who came to him, they said, he is in Bhav, he is in Samadhi. Akinchana Das Krishna Babaji came. He also said, this is, leave him alone, because this is a situation, this is Samadhi, and he should not be bothered. So we knew of all kinds of miracles that he performed. So for us, thinking that when he would arrive with his own car in Bhubaneswar and get out of that condition and be together with us again. So I recently, in the last Kartik, I spoke with Nimai Pandit Prabhu, the compiler of the biography, the author, together with his wife, Manju Medha Mataji, Tattva Vichar Publications. I asked him, after 26 years, what did you think, what would happen when he got out of Mayapur to Bhubaneswar? And he said, of course he would come out. Everybody was thinking like that. He would come out and be together with us again. And so I also spoke with so many God brothers who were not present in Mayapur. And we asked him, what were you doing at the moment that you notified that Gurudev had left? So it was just heartbreaking to hear, to listen to all the stories. And unfortunately, it was not possible. Gurudev just disappeared from our physical presentation. So just in short to mention what happened on that day. There's so many perspectives because Leela Avatar Prabhu was here. He was there the whole day, and he went in the car of Gurudev together with him to Bhubaneswar. So maybe we'll hear that some other time. So now I would like to give the opportunity to some other speakers. Is Sitaram Prabhu here? Sitaram Prabhu? Please. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimandasya Jnananjanashalakshasham Shrimatatam Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimati Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj Dinamine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Dinamine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pachayane Nivishesheshinvadi Pashyata Jashatari. Hare Krishna. Srila Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj ki. So, His Holiness Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj has a very, very special position in our movement. And I had a very great fortune because I had one darshan of Maharaj in Juhu when I was a small boy. The only thing, generally in Juhu, Prabhupada's quarters in the 80s and then early 90s, we would have, because a lot of Western devotees used to live there, so we would have the Bhagavatam class in the English in the Prabhupada's quarter. And in Hindi it would go on in the temple hall. So we were young boys, we would go to the Prabhupada's quarters because Prabhupada's breakfast plate used to be distributed in the Prabhupada's quarters. Those who are from Juhu will know this. So then we kids used to go there. So one day Maharaj, in his usual way, His Holiness Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj Gurudev was there. And if you have heard his lectures, he roars. He disappeared on the appearance day of Simha Guru Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he roars like that when he speaks, wake up! I will say, how long you will sleep, And it was very powerful. I took a lot of shelter, shiksha from his lectures. For me to be stable in my spiritual life, and I'm still trying to do that. So Maharaj, very, very special Vaishnava family is coming from his very childhood. He was a devotee. Srila Prabhupada, the way he met Srila Prabhupada also was very special. And we have read how he left his family life in search of a spiritual master. And then when he from Kanyakumari to North Kashmir. He said he traveled and then he came to Vrindavan and he saw the BTG magazine, Prabhupada's photo on that, and he went to Krishna Balaram Mandir. Brahmananda Swami was there at the gate and said, I would like to see Bhaktivedanta Swami. So Brahmananda Swami went inside and he said, some Indian sadhu wants to see you. Prabhupada said, get him in. So Brahmananda was surprised that, what is this? Prabhupada is busy and he's resting and he just hears that some Indian sadhu has come and get him in. Goes there. And he was searching for a spiritual master to take sannyas. He left his home to take sannyas and serve the mission, Gaudiya mission. So then when he met Srila Prabhupada for the first time, Srila Prabhupada saw him, spoke to him briefly, or was directly at, have you taken sannyas? Briefly, just an introduction. And Srila Prabhupada asked him, have you taken sannyas? He said, no. I will give you sannyas. I will give you sannyas. Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj shared this with his disciples that Guru knows the heart. And my first interaction, my spiritual master, he knew my heart and he just told me this, that have you taken sannyas? And I was looking for someone whom I can surrender and take the sannyas ashram. I was looking for someone and he asked me, he said, Guru knows the heart. So one day, Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj was giving a very heavy class and he was mentioning how Guru knows everything. So then the disciples went and asked, Srila Gurudev, since you mentioned no, Guru knows the heart, do you know what is in my heart? Can you help me? He started laughing. He said, I can pray to Prabhupada for you, Baba. He said, I can only pray for you to Srila Prabhupada. That was his humility, I can pray for you to Srila Prabhupada. And in the childhood he read Srimad Bhagavatam and Caitanya Caritamrta. Very bold preacher. Very, very bold preacher. And I had a very great fortune when I was a brahmachari. I got association of Vaikuntha Murti Prabhu, a very senior disciple of Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj, who is a brahmachari in Juhu temple. So I had a very great fortune because the way Maharaj gives, of course his mission was that. All of us know he had 3 missions in life. All of you know this? He had 3 missions in life. I think all the disciples know this. 3 missions. And that's amazing. He said, after Srila Prabhupada left, he was very broken to see the situation of some of the devotees. So he made a mission in his life that I will preach to the preachers of ISKCON. First. Second, I will show them that everything is in Srila Prabhupada's books. You don't have to get into anything to know. Everything is there in Srila Prabhupada's books. And the third thing, everything is in ISKCON. You don't have to go outside to get anything. That was his mission of life. And he did that. He did that. If you hear his preaching, many of Srila Prabhupada's disciples took shelter in him, shiksha in him. And those days, a lot of leaders came down from their position. And lot of West, Bhubaneswar was like Vrindavan and Mayapur, full of Western devotees. How many of you were in Bhubaneswar when Srila Gurudev was there? It was like, if you see the videos now, you feel as if it's like the West, like the International Center, Mayapur, Vrindavan. He gives so much shelter. In fact, he gave a very beautiful insight to Srila Prabhupada's teaching, more deeper. His explanation would be such an exalted platform. Like, simple example, I quoted this last year also, that one disciple, we know this philosophically, that Vani is more important than Vapo, right? Vani is more important than, and we all preach this, isn't it true? So one disciple went and asked Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, Shri Gurudev, when the spiritual master leaves, it is said his Vani is more important than the Vapu. How do the disciple act on it? Now, a general preacher of ISKCON will try to elaborate philosophically the instructions, following the 4 regulatives. What did he say? He said, "Are you fool? It is an apparent consideration that the Guru left, but the Guru is always with the disciple." And we see this in Srila Prabhupada's life. He always mentioned, "I never felt my Guru Maharaj is not there. I always felt my Guru is with me." Another example I have in my life. He was giving a class, and in his class he was quoting this verse, "Sarva dharman parityajaya mam ekam sharanam vraja." Mam ekam sharanam. Some of you must have heard, many disciples must have heard this, and I'm just repeating again, which has inspired me from his lectures in his life. Then he just got into that Sarva dharman parityajaya mam ekam sharanam. He said, "Sharanam, surrender." And then he said, "Can you surrender? Can there be surrender without love?" One cannot surrender without love. Cannot surrender without love. Love, surrender has to be with love. Otherwise it's artificial, superficial and external. Conditional. And then he got into more details and explained how Lord Krishna is a practical speaker who spoke the Gita. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared to teach that surrender. It's Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who has appeared. And all of us, Srila Prabhupada gave us everything. But Chaitanya Charitamrita, how to approach Gaura and Nitai, was really more detail explained by Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj. More into detail, because he was from the land, he practiced so rich Gaudiya Vaishnavism from his childhood. And we all read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat in a certain meter. But he introduced a very sweet singing of Chaitanya Charitamrita. If you hear his lectures, he will take you to a different realm when he sings, a different realm. And there were few very sweet singing which he used to do when his classes, in middle of the classes. And I really heard them several times. And you cannot hear them anywhere else, it's so sweet. You just love Chaitanya Charitamrita, the way he explains. That's a very special gift. And there's one thing which I would like to share with all of you, which he quotes always, emphasizing on the holy name, emphasizing on Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, famous verses. But he would sing it like this. Nama vina kali kale, nahi ara dharma. Nama vina kali kale, nahi ara dharma. Sarva mantra sara nama, e shastra marma. Sarva mantra sara nama, e shastra marma. Prabhu tumi jivera, mangal chinta kari. Prabhu tumi jivera, mangal chinta kari. Kali yuge nama sange, swayam avatare. Kali yuge nama sange, swayam avatare. Yuga dharma pracharilo, nama sankirtana. Yuga dharma pracharilo, nama sankirtana. Mukhya pate jiva paye, Krishna prema dhana. Mukhya pate jiva paye, Krishna Prema Dharma. Everybody. Shri Krishna Caitanya. Together. Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhara. Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Binda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this was his sweetness. He would just take us, all of you who have personally heard him, he would just take you to 500 years behind when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there. That was his speciality. And along with the sweetness, we say Guru means heavy. Guru means heavy. All of the disciples, and I have heard from the disciples, but even in the lectures you can see. There's one conversation after the lecture. It was about women being under the shelter of husband, the father or the grown-up son. And after the lecture, the conversation going on outside the temple. So one of the disciples, whom I met later on in Mayapur, he asked repeatedly a question. But if suppose if a husband and wife separate, if you want to remarry, or he want to remarry, you remember what did he say? No, he said like this. Cannot. So the disciple, you were there? You were there? No, you cannot. So again the disciple said, but then you said that woman has to be protected. Who will protect her? Anyone knows what happened after that? Anyone remembers? In that video? Maharaj gave a slap to that patch on his face. Krishna is the maintainer. Krishna will take care of everyone, Baba. And the disciple further asked other question also. That was a shock of my life. That was a shock of my life, The disciple having the courage to smile and stand around there and ask further questions. This is something we all need. We are missing that. Sri Gour Govinda Maharaj says, if you are not chastised, if you are not corrected, you are still being cheated. You are still being cheated. It's amazing, If you're not chastised, if you're not corrected, that means spiritual life means accountability. Spiritual life means accountability to our superiors, to Guru, to Vaishnavas. And Maharaj's lectures were, two more examples I will share from this book, When Good Fortune Arises. One of the disciples wanted to go to Australia, and he was going and meeting Maharaj personally. Gurudev, I want to go to Australia. And Maharaj had a very special style. He would hear everything and he would speak next day in the Bhagavatam. All of you know who are disciples, they know this, So he said, I don't know if he named him. He said, this fellow came to me in the night and is requesting me, Gurudev, there is no stool available in Bhubaneswar. I want to go to Australia to eat stool. Right there in the Bhagavatam. I had a very good fortune, after coming to Mayapur from last 9 years, to have association of Damini Mataji. If she's around, she's right here. So I heard one class and he was shouting. These girls came to me and they said, Gurudev, we are Westerners. We cannot follow this, it's too heavy. I don't have anything else to give. I can only give what my Gurudev. If you cannot hear, get up, go. And I was asking Mataji, were you there in the class? He said, I was shivering. But I did not go, but we were all wondering, sitting there, who went? Who is it? Right, Mataji? She was telling that she was shivering. He said, I cannot give you anything what you want. I can only give you what my Guru gave. If you cannot take that, get up. And all are sitting like shocked, All Mataji's fingers are shivering and they get up and go. I was hearing that lecture, I was just feeling that Maharaj is slapping me only actually from the lecture. It was so beautiful to get these reflections from Maharaj just by his Vani. Just by his Vani. In fact, he is one of the examples, because one disciple went, because in management there are always challenges. Maharaj also mentioned, some of the devotees left GBC position. I was not so fortunate. I was chosen to become a GBC because Maharaj never liked management. He was always a sweet nectarian, speaker. He just sings and he just narrates. See, that's it, And then he gives instructions straight. I never saw even till today any leader speaking direct. Hey, you're busy? Sutta mita rama nira chinta. Wife, children, family, house, contemplation. Right on the face. You can see him raising the stick also in the Bhagavatam class. Where is my stick? Where is my stick? Wow, it's so beautiful, Maharaj in his life showed us everything what is required. One devotee went and told, Srila Prabhupada, Gurudev, there is so much problems in ISKCON. His reply was, problems are in your mind. And what is in your mind you are seeing. That's it. Problems are in your mind. And what is in your mind you are seeing that. Because you have no taste for Krishna Katha. So that's how, though we saw him, he had challenges in management, but he never spoke. He was always exalted. In fact, one time one disciple went to him and said, Gurudev, we'll leave ISKCON, we'll start our own organization. He said, Chala! Dragged that disciple out of the room and said, Chalo, Baba, jao yahan se, chalo! Got him out of the room actually. Those examples, he and His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj are in my life. Those examples that they would choose to leave this world rather than leaving ISKCON. They are such examples. They would choose to leave this world rather than living example. If he was not there, I would have become a Ritvik. He changed my life and I have a great gratitude on this auspicious day where we are glorifying him. I just want to seek all of your blessings so that I just continue to hear his lectures and take inspiration and serve the mission of Srila Prabhupada for the rest of my life. Thank you very much. Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Thank you, Prabhu. We have 45 minutes or something. Yes, Prabhu? Please. Yes, you can come. Anytime now is best. Or
my relationship with Gour Govinda Maharaj. has gone through a lot of, you could say, transitioning, transformation, as I'm going through the process. Because I don't know the name of the devotee who was just speaking, but Sitaram. Yeah, Sitaram. I first was with him in Philadelphia. I think it was his first time in America. He was in the Philadelphia temple in his room. And I asked his servant if I could see Maharaj. And yeah, that meeting with Maharaj, I mean, he was very patient with me. And yeah, because I've had to go through a lot of mental, you could say, purification. I was diagnosed manic depressive in the, Narendra Maharaj, when I was in Boston, he advised me to see some psychotherapist to deal with my debility. I was re-experiencing like shock therapy and stuff that I had in my youth. And so I had a lot of mental static that I had to deal with. And Maharaj, I remember he said to me, you got to try to focus. try to focus. That was his instruction. And it was beyond my control, I just had all I could do to hang in there, just reading Bhagavatam and reading Prabhupada's books and going out on Sankirtan and continuing the process of purification. And when I was during the years where Maharaj's fiery classes, and he would pick somebody out, and so, who's somebody able to take it. He never picked me. I couldn't handle it. And my false ego, my mind would have gone nuts. And I was scared to death that he would call on me, pick me out in the group. And he never did. Yeah. Because he was sensitive. He was with who he was, who he's in hell. So, and Maharaj, he was pretty controversial, and he wasn't even allowed to go to some zones because Prabhupada, and when good fortune arises, it really explains all the details of which I was not able to understand, and most of the devotees were not ready to understand how he was presenting philosophy and why. It took so many years of purification for me to realize. But I could understand, and I said to him, in the year he left, in the Bhuvaneshwar program, I was there, the centennial program. It was the first one. And I was there in Prabhupada's pavilion with all the laminations of Prabhupada's life and all the temples. And that was my service with the centennial. And the first, I was there. And I remember Maharaj was watching me preach to somebody, and I was seeing him with one eye, and I was speaking to the other person with the other eye. He was watching me because he could understand the turmoil that I was dealing with for so many years, not being able to take shelter of Maharaj because I wasn't ready to digest the way he was preaching. I felt protected by Prabhupada, how he was presenting and in a balance, you know, with more of a balance of the. And I didn't feel that with him, and so I couldn't directly hear from him. And he understood. He knew, and I knew he knew. You know, what could I do? And so then, and he was looking at me, and I understand that he understood. It was after he had gone to Gopal Ju and went to Gopal Ju saying, you know, you got to take me out of here. You know, like, it's beyond my, you know, I have to. And I know I'm part of the reason. I wasn't ready, and I knew I wasn't ready, and I knew he was up there, but I couldn't assimilate it. And then at that Bhuvaneshwar program, the VIP, when all the VIPs of Bhuvaneshwar were in the auditorium and on the stage, he had the foreigner devotees come up on stage and show how, and speak about their realizations about how they joined the movement and to inspire the local Bhuvaneshwar people. And then after the program ended, then there were a few disciples around him on the stage, and I knew this was my last chance to speak to him. And then I asked him for, you know, that Maharaj, you know, I'm making offenses. Because there were a lot of fanatic disciples who were like saying that he's the only Uttamadhikari and everybody else is not qualified. And so I had to confront them to defend certain devotees that I'm very attached to, my godbrothers, and how they were trying to break the faith in young devotees. And I had to deal with that. And I went to Maharaj and I told him on the stage, you know, I'm making offenses. In the past, I'm making offenses in the present, and I'm going to be continuing to make offenses in the future. And you got to forgive me. You know, when somebody's down here, you can't understand things. People are up, you know, or up here, you know. I could understand, but I couldn't. I had to act according to my level of realization. And I said, you got to forgive me, Maharaj. And you have to let me put my head at your feet. You have to give me forgiveness. And he didn't say anything. And that was like a yes, and I could do it. And I did. And that was like my last exchange with Maharaj.
And as I got up, I went down, I put my hand, there was a podium, and he was there. And the podium was behind him as he was with me. And I got down on a full dandavat and put my head on his feet with both hands on both sides of him. And and then as I stood up, tears, you know. What can I do, you know? And he just embraced me with one arm and he rubbed my head with so much affection and understanding and compassion. And that's why he left. He could, like he said, he would leave his body before he would ever leave ISKCON. Because he's a real ISKCON. He's the core of ISKCON. And his life, Prabhupada, ISKCON, is, you know. And to avoid creating a faction, he left his body. And then I remember that night, it was the most incredible experience. The night of his disappearance. And I was there, and then, and then when here in Mayapur, I was in the room, across the courtyard in Prabhupada's room. I was in Prabhupada's room chanting japa, and I saw like a fire was across the courtyard in the room, which was his room. I didn't know, but it was like devotees were running in and out, like some fire was going on, and devotees were running all around the Lotus building, and it was like, and I went out of the Prabhupada's room, and then Ravindra Swarup was walking up the steps, and I asked, what's happening? And he said, Gour Govinda Maharaj left his body. And I ran down the stairs and across the courtyard, went into the room, squeezed into the room and sat down next to the bed while he was lying. And devotees were massaging his leg with mustard oil. And there were some Ayurvedic doctors that were, and one of them was saying he could be in samadhi, like happened in '79. He looked so bright and effulgent, and this smile. And I was sitting there, and one of the disciples got up and left the room, and then I slid into that spot to massage his leg, and praying, Maharaj, don't go, you know, because I know I'm part of the reason. I was leaving. And and that whole day of his disappearance, boy, and the whole program that went on until late at night, and devotees glorified him, and the curtains were open, the Ashtasaki, Radhamadava, and he had darshan of all the deities, and Jayapataka Maharaj went out with a gun when the temple was being attacked in the middle of the night. To scare him away, you know, he shot the gun so they wouldn't get some property on the land and try to, you know, set up shop on our property. And so, it was such an experience. And Bhakti True Maharaj went with his to Bhuvaneshwar, went in the vehicle to Bhuvaneshwar with his body. Yeah, it's just such an amazing personality, how he came from the spiritual world to give us a chance to cross over the rigidity of the institution, because we didn't have the culture. How can we understand it? We're so from the streets of New York and other places. Okay. So anyway, Madhavananda, he's really the hero who really manifested Maharaj's presence after his presence, physical presence, and how I'm eternally indebted to Madhavananda for what he's contributed, which is actually manifesting Maharaj, and especially when good fortune arises, it resolves. After 20 years of purification, I was ready to assimilate Maharaj's literary incarnation in that book, his life and teachings. And so I'd just like to thank him and all of you for continuing and to contribute that legacy that he appeared to. I don't see him as a separate acharya, I see him as an extension of Prabhupada's body. To give us what we weren't ready to get when he was physically present. And that he was able, and how actually he's been a real instrument for me and others. Also, I can say their names, Niranjana Maharaj and Shiva Ramandra, Lokanath Maharaj, they've been very direct instruments to help me on my journey. But he was the first to connect me with what's beyond what I was anyway capable of understanding. So my relationship with Maharaj is an eternal fact, and I'm a younger, somehow a younger godbrother, but always under his wing forever. Oh, thank you. Glories to Gour Govinda Maharaj and all Prabhupada and Gour Govinda Maharaj anugas.
Please.
Hare Krishna.
Like you were mentioning, you were in the Bhubaneswar during the centennial in '96. Srila Gurudev was speaking for a couple of days in the Pandal program, and he was roaring like a lion. So at one point, he was mostly speaking in Oriya, so we couldn't understand. But because he speaks his philosophy, there's so some things you do understand. So at one point he said something, and people were for the first time in Bhubaneswar. Later on they said, we didn't know we had such a powerful preacher in ISKCON. So what Gurudev said was, do you know who is Krishna? I know who is Krishna. Do you want to go back to Krishna? I can take you back to Krishna. Such a bold statement.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva pacitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. So my name is
Bhakti Rasayana Sagara Swami, and I come from Russia originally, and I wanted to thank organizers for inviting me for this wonderful day, glorifying Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj. And I was thinking that we cannot appreciate the picture being within the picture, but if we are looking at the picture from distance, we can really appreciate. And so, apparently this is what happened with Gour Govinda Maharaj, that when he was with us, there was not much appreciation. I mean, there were definitely many devotees were appreciating, but no one could see his full glory until he left this world. And we know that the same thing was happening with Srila Prabhupada. Many Prabhupada disciples share this, that they realized full glories of Srila Prabhupada after his physical departure. And it's really amazing that such a wonderful soul joined Srila Prabhupada. Actually, by his own words, he said, Krishna sent him to me. At least Srila Prabhupada immediately recognized the value of Gour Govinda Maharaj. And it was because it was obvious his special status, appearance in a holy place of Lord Jagannath, and appearance in a family of pure devotees, and never being conditioned by any means, unlike many of us. And so he came from holy place, from the family of pure devotees. He's always been pure devotee. And this was obviously his power, and Srila Prabhupada really appreciated him. When I came to Mayapur for the very first time in '93, that was one of Krishna's gifts. I had a glimpse, opportunity to associate with Maharaj because, funny enough, I was requested to do a service for the GBC meetings, being in charge of the team serving the GBCs, so I had the opportunity to associate very closely to the GBC members. And at that time there was a kind of controversy, you could say, that some of the senior leaders were concerned that some devotees claim that Gour Govinda Maharaj is the only pure devotee in ISKCON. And so there were objections to the point, and they were discussing that, and it was closed meeting. And then they've discussed, we have to bring Gour Govinda Maharaj in and ask him what's his opinion. And so they told me, can you please invite Maharaj to come, and he's elderly, so can you please help him up to come, you know. There was no elevator at the time, so he had to walk up the stairs. So yeah, I had this rare fortune of serving him physically, at least once in my life. Maybe that's the reason I'm still around. And so, nobody except GBC members could participate in that confidential discussion. But the outcome was very interesting, that they quoted Gour Govinda Maharaj something to the effect that he is not considering himself to be a pure devotee, which of course no pure devotee ever would say, I'm a pure devotee. But somehow that settled the whole controversy. Everyone was happy with that. That was an interesting example for me. So, and of course, it's very interesting that even his departure, which is officially tomorrow, coincides with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance day, and we're supposed to fast for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's appearance day. So automatically all these devotees are fasting for Gour Govinda Maharaj Disappearance day as well. So Krishna is making arrangements for his pure devotees, and this is the most exciting thing about Krishna consciousness, to see how it all unfolds. And yeah, with Gour Govinda Maharaj there are so many amazing points, as Prabhuji was, no, somebody else was mentioning that he had his stick when he was giving classes, and I heard one episode from a disciple that, he was giving class in the room, and a few disciples were sitting. He was sitting on the bed, and a few of the disciples were sitting on the floor, and he was, discussing points in the class, and one disciple was not dozing or anything, but he was kind of distracted and was thinking about his own things, obviously, sitting like that. And then Gour Govinda Maharaj takes his cane, and he smacks the disciple on the head. And the disciple becomes shocked, and he looks up on him, and Gour Govinda Maharaj smiles, and he says, "What happened, Baba? Why are you so morose?" So that was his way to fire everyone up like that. But it's amazing that disciples could take it, actually remembering how Srila Prabhupada was also sometimes heavy with people and would call his audience, cats and dogs and all these things. And everyone was taking it because there was no malice in those words. It was not personal. And Srila Prabhupada would say that, I'm not saying that they are cats and dogs, I'm just repeating what Krishna says in Bhagavatam, because there are verses like that. And so this pure innocence of a devotee was obviously characteristic in Gour Govinda Maharaj as well. He would say things which were extremely heavy, but because there was no kind of, personal agenda, personal, no ego involved, no false ego involved, devotees were taking it. And this is actually spiritual power. And I heard one class, and certain things only Gour Govinda Maharaj could do or say. No one else could, imitate him. And the class was, one of his favorite topics was Guru Tattva, of course. And then he would explain how important it is to get the mercy of the spiritual master, to surrender to the spiritual master. There is no other way to advance in Krishna consciousness. And there was one devotee whose guru left the movement prior to that. And then, obviously, he was a bit upset about it. And he said, but what shall you do if you surrender to the spiritual master and then your spiritual master leaves the movement? Obviously, a heavy question, but Gour Govinda Maharaj answered in such a brilliant way, he started laughing. And he said, this is why Baba, Srila Prabhupada says, if you want to be cheated, Krishna will send you a cheater. That was amazing. That somehow the devotee took it to the heart, such an answer. And obviously, this kind of power was coming from his purity, from his innocence. And I remember how Radhanath Maharaj was sharing things from his trip to the West. Apparently it was first trip to the West, how he was asking his servant, about the hostess on the airplane serving, drinks and juices. He said, why this unmarried lady is trying to serve us? And then when he would arrive to Italy, and of course, all this art and sculptures, and he would, point finger at some nude sculpture, male nude sculpture, and he said, I think he needs copings to be put on him. Like that, so, yeah, and it's amazing how we can glorify and serve Gour Govinda Maharaj, and because he's still with us, because he's not the body as all of us, and we can still get his blessings, and so I'm hoping to get a little some blessings from him, and if you could also pray for me so that I could do something useful in his mission and in Srila Prabhupada's mission for serving the devotees. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj ki jai.
I have two more people on my list here. That is Sudhir Caitanya from Bangalore and Krishnananda Prabhu from Mumbai. And if anybody else would like to speak, we just have like 10 minutes or something, so very short, briefly.
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshavtale Srimati Gour Govinda Swami Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshavtale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachari Nirvisheshinavadi Pashivishtarine. Panchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhevaja Patitanam Pavani Vaishnavanamana. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I consider myself very fortunate to be among all the devotees, and I thank the devotees for giving me this opportunity. I'm very insignificant. I did not have the good fortune to personally associate with Srila Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj, but I'm very much inspired by his talks, lectures, and his total conviction in the process of Harinam and taking shelter of Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's like it's explained in the Chaitanya Caritamrta that one judges a devotee according to his faith in the holy name, faith in the process. And Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj's faith is so impeccable and so deep that whoever hears from him develops that faith. In fact, one of my favorite stories, which I practically repeat in every lecture where I go to a new place, is the story Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj spoke about faith in the holy name. I think all of you may be knowing this, but just for my purification, I'll try to tell this story. I think one of the video lectures which was played a few years back in Mayapur. Somehow by Krishna's arrangement, I make it a point to always be in Mayapur for this occasion every year for two reasons. First, to glorify or hear the glorification of Maharaj, and also many senior devotees come during this season. So Gour Govinda Maharaj tells this famous story. I think how many of you know this story already? That that mother-in-law and daughter-in-law crossing the river. How many of you know? So I'll just repeat with the blessings of the devotees. It's a very simple story, but it shows how faith in the holy name is so important. So once there was sadhu speaking on the glories of the holy name. Anande bolo Hari Hari, Hari Koribe Bhavpari. That Anande, with great pleasure, chant the name of Hari, And the name Hari will help you cross over the oceans of birth and death. So this lecture was heard by many people, and it happened to be that there's a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, and both of them heard, and they were going back to their place, and they had to cross a river, which was, there was no boat, no facility. So mother-in-law was more experienced, more learned, but daughter-in-law was more faithful. So both of them were in anxiety, how to cross, no boat, no swimming, and the daughter-in-law simply had faith that with the power of the holy name you can cross ocean. So what is this river? So she, with simple faith, she just put her feet and chanted Hari Hari, and she started crossing. And the mother-in-law was in anxiety, how will I cross, how will I cross? Oh, you heard that, that Maharaj spoke, that Anande bolo Hari Hari, Hari korebe bhav pari. But the mother-in-law did not have that faith. Saying, what if I put my feet in? Did not have that faith. So Maharaj was so beautifully in such simple language explaining that faith in the holy name is the most important thing. You see, just comparing it with Srila Prabhupada's example, when Prabhupada was taking sannyas and the ceremony was going on and so many mantras were being chanted, and one of Prabhupada's godbrothers was chanting Hare Krishna in the background. And Prabhupada's attention was more towards the Mahamantra. So he indicated that, please chant loudly, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And obviously those who were doing the yajna, they had to tell, please, little softer, little softer. And then as soon as it became soft, and then Prabhupada would say, chant louder, chant louder. So this devotee, I think it was Akinchan Krishna's Babaji Maharaj, he was reading Kirtan at that time. And he said that this is the time I understood that this is a great personality who will spread the holy name everywhere. The Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj, he had that complete faith in the holy name and the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. Of course he was a great scholar, of course he had so many qualities. It's not, how could he at this young age could have complete knowledge of Caitanya Bhagavat, Caitanya Caritamrta, and inspiring so many devotees. Both before, even before he met Srila Prabhupada, he was having so much faith in the holy name. And after meeting Prabhupada, putting his complete energy, and even after Prabhupada's departure, the society was so much so many devotees were having doubts that what Prabhupada gave was not enough, it was for neophytes. And Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj travelled extensively to show that everything is there in Prabhupada's books. He's carrying the mercy. I was listening to one lecture of Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj about Nityananda Prabhu, Lord Nityananda's mercy. You know, it's the power of the mercy of Lord Nityananda can be understood by one who has received that mercy. And my Guru Maharaj, Radhanath Maharaj, very much respectfully, he told once, Radhanath Maharaj was serving earlier in New Vrindavan, America. And Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj, during that time, in the 80s somewhere, he was visiting New Vrindavan. And Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj, he was speaking katha and he was glorifying the holy name. And then later, Maharaj invited him to his room to just discuss some pastimes. And both of these two great personalities decided, Maharaj, Gour Govinda Maharaj was speaking, and it went on and on all, and suddenly they found out it was time for Mangala Arati. So, this is a sign of a great person who is Machchitta Madgata Prana. He takes pleasure in glorification of the pastimes of the Lord. There's one other story I heard, how Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj was speaking. One of his disciples was about to leave as he had to go for some service. So he asked, Maharaj, I want to go for some service. Whose service? Huh? Krishna's service or Maya's service? Sit down. And this devotee was, then later on he was so happy to, he had as Prabhuji explained, Maharaj explained very nicely, he had both the knowledge of a scholar and great Vaishnava and the simplicity of a small child, Like in the Bible it says that only one who is childlike, he can inherit the kingdom of God. No duplicity. The saralta is Vaishnavism, simplicity. That simply faith that the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda is everything. And in that mood, to constantly chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So on this blessed occasion, I fall at his feet and beg his mercy, because when Vaishnava's appearance, disappearance day is very special, and we all pray for his causeless mercy. Can get a drop of that faith. Gurudev kripa bindu diya karo idase trina. Make me humble, humbler than a blade of grass, more tolerant. As Maharaj explained that when something discussed about pure devotee or whether it's the only pure devotee, he said, I am not a pure devotee. So this comes out naturally. It's not like a contrived thing. Like I remember one incident of Srila Prabhupada. He was in Australia, and Prabhupada was speaking about first-class man, second-class man, third-class man, and one crazy person, he asked this question, Swamiji, which class are you? And Prabhupada became very grave with tears in his eyes. He said, I am 5th class, but I am trying to serve all of you. So we find that all great personalities, they never think themselves to be great devotees. They are, Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj, Prabhupada, and all our present acharyas and gurus, they are thinking in the mood of Kaviraj Goswami that I am lower than the lowest. And in that consciousness, they are able to give us Krishna. So we can beg at their feet. Make me also humble. Kripa bindu diya, koroi dasya trinapake. And we can beg like Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, that bhakti, give me bhakti. Give me bhakti, give me pure devotion. Krishna se tomar, Krishna diti paro, tomar shakati. Ami to kangal, Krishna, Krishna. We can beg, Gurudev, please give me pure bhakti. Please give me the ability to chant pure holy name. One holy name before I leave my body, it may be any time, I can once utter the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj ki jai.
So officially we have now come to the end of the program, but there is one more Prabhu who wants to sing something for the glorification of Srila Gurudev. So at 2 o'clock, Sulab Kitchen, everybody who has a prasad coupon, they can take prasadam there. So we will just finish up here, and before we do that, I want to beg forgiveness for any offenses I have made here during the program, because I do not know many faces, I do not know the names, and maybe some disciples, some Prabhus or Mataris wanted to speak something, didn't get the opportunity, please forgive me. You want to sing something? I was informed somebody wants to sing something. I was informed somebody wanted to sing for the glorification. So please come forward, otherwise... My name was called on, so please say something.
Namo Vishwadaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Gour Govinda Swami Niti Namini. Namo Vishwadaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini. Respected Maharaj, I was in Bhubaneswar from 1987 to 1991 in the youth forum. I cherish some memories about Maharaj, his classes, his instructions. So I just want to express my heartful gratitude that I was able to be groomed up in the initial days of ISKCON. His instructions are very on the dot and also very hard-hitting. I remember one time sitting outside the kutir, and then Maharaj was speaking to some of the Western-bodied disciples. One devotee came up and he said, Gurudev, nothing is entering into my head, whatever you are saying, nothing. What should I do? Then Maharaj said, come here. So he came forward. Maharaj took his walking stick and gave one drop on his head. It was really hard. I could get the vibration. Go! Now you'll get all the mercy. My gosh. Then others, Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev. No, he wanted real mercy. You are all pretending. He never hit anybody else on the head. So that, I don't know, that whack, I felt I had it on my head. It was so much strong. So then we had other interesting things. Sundays morning, I used to go there. We had a youth forum. Then Gaur Narayan Prabhu, now Bhakti Gaurav Narayan Maharaj, he was youth director. Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu was president. Sunday morning we sit for japa. Maharaj will come out and sit on his, that long chair, what you call. So we'll chant japa. Now where there is the Radha Gopinath temple, that side, it was a barbed wire. There's no boundary wall. Morning 6 o'clock, one guy will come on a bicycle. And behind the bicycle carrier there will be a basket. In the basket there will be one live goat and a Haribol goat. So morning time is so clear, the environment. As the person comes on the bicycle along the pathway nearer to the temple, the live goat will start bleating so piteously. It starts increasing when the cycle wala is just on the middle of the temple side. Then as he starts going away, the bleating goes smaller. But when he comes to the middle of the temple boundary, it's so piteous, we all stop chanting. We just hear that bleating. Then as the person goes away, then Maharaj will shake his head. Too late, nothing can be done. So these are some of the instructions I still cherish those days. Then there was temple inauguration happened. Then the first Rath Yatra. Maharaj said we should have 3 Rathas. So then it was just 8-10 days. Of course, you should be knowing how the Lord Jagannath deities came to the altar. They were not planned for. But Maharaj was waiting for someone to give donation for the deities. I think you all know that. Then the Rath Yatra came. It was 8 or 10 days left for the Rath Yatra, and still that person was putting nails into the Ratha, 3 Rathas. So we were in the youth forum. We went to Gaur Narayan Prabhu, said, Prabhuji, 8-10 days left for Rath Yatra, and still is putting nails in the Ratha. It has to be polished, put a white paint and all that. When will this happen? Why don't you tell us, we'll do something. So he went and spoke to Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu. Prabhuji spoke to Maharaj. Then he said, okay, put the boys into action. In 4 days, we painted all 3 Rathas. And Maharaj used to sit outside the kutir. Afternoon time, you would have known, knowing around 5-6 o'clock he comes and he chants and sits there. Then night means the early morning, 3 a.m. of Rath Yatra day, we have to shift the Ratha from the temple to the CRP circle where the Rath Yatra starts. So we slept there in the night. Then we had pushed those empty chariots to the CRP chuck. And I was saying that the light is on in Maharaj's room. I said, Maharaj, what is he doing at this 3 a.m.? No, he's translating the books. So then it started drizzling. And just imagine that time there was the highway, no divider, no flyover, nothing. And we, Gaur Narayan Prabhu, boys, some brahmacharis, we all pushing the Ratha on the road. It's drizzling. And it was such an ecstatic time we had with that. And subsequently Maharaj's lecture, first lecture I would say in the Rath Yatra, he gave such a wonderful lecture about the deities. So all this, I want to express my gratitude, my heartful, my good fortune that I grew up in this center in the early days. And I'm no more a youth now so much, but still his memories are so great. There are so many other things that keep reflecting. But fortunately tomorrow I'll be in Bhubaneswar to celebrate the festival further. So thank you very much, Prabhu, for allowing me to express certain things about Maharaj. Jai Srila Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj ki Jai.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Is anyone with a mridanga here, possibly?
Hare Krishna. Jai Ho Gour Govinda Maharaj ki Jai. We have no harmony. Mridanga is not there. How come you are having a whole program without a mridanga? There were 3 mangas and there none there. Vandeham Sri Gurum Sri Utapada Kamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sagana Raghunathanutantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Lalita Sri Vishakhanutam Shra Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalaka Chakshura Militam Vinatasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Putale Simate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namani Namaste Saraswati Evam Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashate Teshatarni Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Putale Simate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Iti Namani Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Putale Simate Gour Govinda Maharaj Iti Namani Vanchakalpataruvasu Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavane Be Vaishnave Pe Namo Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tatale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tat Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Navane Gaurteshe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Chakatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gauringi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Surato Pangor Mama Vanda Materkati Matsarvasya Padamboja Shishi Radha Matana Mohanu Divyat Vrindaranya Kalpadharmata Srimad Ratnangara Simhasanasto Sisi Radha Sila Govinda Deva Prestali Visevya Mano Swarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsi Vada Tatastita Karshan Venusmanar Gopi Gopinatha Siyana Vindaya Tulsi Devaya Piyai Kesava Sucha Krishna Bhakti Pate Devi Satyavate Namo Namah Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Broken. Somebody who is expert in playing can. Ganasham is not there? Ganasham is gone. Okay. Somebody who can play mridanga? So I had the good fortune, Gour Govinda Maharaj and myself, we joined pretty much at the same time. He was taking sannyas, I was getting my first initiation in Vrindavan. And we both used to sleep in the same brahmachari ashram in Hyderabad, we were sleeping next to each other. Of course, we were all city brats, very naughty, proud, so many things. But Gour Govinda Maharaj was over 50 years old already. He was very grave, no nonsense talk, no prajalpa, nothing. Very, very serious how he conducted this day. And he had a very high voice, a special voice he had. He would sing Kirtan. So we were younger boys. We somehow could not cope up with his way of singing. So sometimes he would sing, sometimes we would make sure he doesn't sing, so we would go before him and sing. But then he was even more smarter than all of us. He would come so early and he would straight away start the Kiba Jayo prayers. So he was, in that way we could see, it was something amazing for us to experience. So today is a day of his disappearance days. So many devotees have talked so many nice points and nice things about his wonderful qualities. So I was thinking, they have already spoken so nicely, everybody says, I will sing some bhajan. Ohe Vaishnava Thakur. Okay? Huh?
Something from your personal, you had so much association.
That's why I'm singing one song. Okay? Let's see. Listen. Ohe Vaishnava Thakur, Dayar Sagar, Edase Koruna Kori, Diya Pada Chaya, Shodaye Amare, Tomara Charana Dori. Everybody, Ohe Vaishnava, Dayara Sagar, Edase Koruna Kori, Diya Pada Chaya, Shodaye Amare, Tomara Charana Dori, Tomara Charana Dori, Tomara Charana Dori, Edase Karuna Kori, Bolo Tomara Dori, Tomara Charana Dori, Edase Karuna Kori. Chaya Vegadami, Chaya Dosha Shodhi, Chaya Guna Dehodase, Chaya Satsanga Dehoe Amare, Bosechi Sangera Ashe, Chaya Vegadami, bolo loudly. Chaya Guna Deho Dase, Chaya Satsanga Deho Amare, Jai Bosechi Sangera She, Bosechi Sangera She, Chaya Guna Deho Dase, She, Chaya Guna Se, Jai Kaki Amar Nai Pai Bol Harinama Sankirtane, তুমি কৃপা করি শ্রদ্ধা বিন্দু দিয়া দেহ কৃষ্ণ নাম দানে একাকিয়া এভরিবডি Sankirtan তুমি কৃপা করি দেহ কৃষ্ণ নাম ধানে দেহ কৃষ্ণ নাম দানে हरि नाम संकीर्तन देव कृष्ण अमित जय दाहे तव पाचे पाचे दाहे तव पाचे पाचे तुम्हार शक्ति आचे जय हो वैष्णव ठाकुर की जय हो तुम्हार शक्ति आचे ओ हे वैष्णव ठाकुर दयार सागर इदा से करुणा करे दिया पद चया सदाय हमारे तुम्हार चरण डरी दयार सागर उदय हमारे तुम्हारा अरे तुम्हार चरण डोरी तुम्हार चरण डोरी एदा से करुणा करी तुम्हार जय हो महाराज की जय हो जय हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 राम हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय हो वैष्णव ठाकुर की जय हो। हरे हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा, हरे हरे, हरे राम, हरे राम, राम राम, हरे हरे। जय हो महाराज की जय हो। हरे राम, हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा, हरे हरे, हरे राम, हरे राम, राम राम, हरे हरे। जय हो महाराज की जय हो। हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा, हरे हरे, हरे राम, हरे राम, राम राम, हरे हरे। जय वैष्णव ठाकुर, जय वैष्णव ठाकुर, वैष्णव ठाकुर, जय वैष्णव ठाकुर। जय वैष्णव ठाकुर, जय वैष्णव ठाकुर, वैष्णव ठाकुर, जय वैष्णव ठाकुर। जय वैष्णव ठाकुर, जय वैष्णव ठाकुर, वैष्णव ठाकुर, जय वैष्णव ठाकुर। Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj. Let's read this wonderful translation of this song, which sort of gives us a glimpse, an idea, which Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written it so nicely, about what the glory of Vaishnava means, why we should associate with Vaishnavas. O Vaishnava Thakur, you are an ocean of mercy, being compassionate upon these servants. Purify me by giving me the shade of your feet, of which I take hold. Help me to subdue the 6 urges and purify my 6 faults. Bestow upon the servant the 6 qualities of a devotee. Give me the 6 kinds of devotional association. I am waiting in hope of attaining your association. Alone I do not have the strength to perform Harinam Sankirtan. Being kind and giving me 1 drop of faith, bestow upon me the priceless treasure of Krishna Nam. Krishna is yours, so you have the power to give Krishna. I am only a beggar running behind you, calling out Krishna, Krishna. As many devotees have already given us a wonderful description how Gour Govinda Maharaj has glorified the holy name of the Lord, the chanting of the holy name so loudly. He had a very special way of chanting also. We were hearing today morning some of his classes and hearing the bhajan and kirtan of his, and especially the one which he sang on Nityananda Prabhu's appearance day was far out of you. Nobody never has heard anything like that. But that is his speciality, to glorify Krishna's holy name. Because after all, we come empty-handed, we go empty-handed. We have only one thing, that is the holy name of the Lord. And that Gour Govinda Maharaj has exemplified in his life in such a wonderful way that in his last days, which I heard, I was not here, I was in Europe, but here they put a picture of Gopal, his Gopal Jew picture on his body. So as soon as he saw the picture, he said, Gopal, 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 and he left. So this is what I heard. Now, that only shows that in the last minute of one's life, it is only the name of Krishna that helps us. Nothing will help. All our position, GBC, and Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Shudra Kena Hoy, E Krishna Tattva Vete, Sai Guru Hoy. So this is the only thing that will take us, makes our life successful. So Gour Govinda Maharaj was an exemplary person in that respect. Very enthusiastically chanting. When it comes to chanting the holy names, nothing can stop him when he starts chanting. And we had that experience in many occasions. And I remember one time he gave a class in the Bhagavatam class in the Mayapur. And the verse, I still remember that verse. The Lord will appear in the form which a devotee desires. This was a Bhagavatam verse. And there was a little purport. It was not a big purport. And the whole class he gave just half the purport. I mean, it was so enthusiastic about the whole class. We were like wondering, wow, who would ever match that class? So then he said, okay, the next speaker should speak the other half of the class next day. Of course, some GBCs were there. Maharaj, who will give this class tomorrow? You should give the class. You should finish this purport also. So that's how Gour Govinda Maharaj was. He was a real Bhagavat speaker. Bhakta Bhagavat, which we call. Bhakta Bhagavat and Book Bhagavat. He was a Bhakta Bhagavat. When he would say something, everything, as they exemplified in their different talks, he's very simple-hearted, direct, and he's speaking what is there in his heart. Antare bahire samabhyavahar. Inside and outside is the same person. He's not like he's a diplomat outside, inside he's talking something, outside something. None of these things. You go to him, as you say, you'll be ready to get a stick on your head. So, so that's how he was. And because we were so newcomers, naturally we were sleeping in the same room. Every day morning I would get up, he would get up. And before we get up, he already gets up. And Hyderabad temple was like a ramshackle place, with his asbestos sheet. And he would take shower very early in the morning, in the cold shower, and he would sit there and he chant his japa. And we were like sleeping, oh my goodness, why is he chanting japa here? For us, everything is a disturbance that disturbs our sense gratification. But he didn't care for that. But we received his mercy in the form of his chanting. And we had the good fortune of being at least physically close. Spiritually, we were quite far away. But whatever association, whatever lectures we heard, everywhere, it was outstanding. Among the many devotees in ISKCON, he is one of the persons whom I can say he stands out in how he glorifies Krishna, the holy name, and all these aspects. Without any motive, actually I heard from his own mouth, he never wanted to become a GBC. He had no such idea, He's not a manager anyhow. He's not like that type of manager. But he manages his life very nicely, and everybody who comes to him, he can manage their life also. But they made him into a GBC. So naturally, being simple and innocent in transcendental way, he was thinking, well, he can contribute something. So he is very staunchly connected to Shastras, Hari Guru Shastras. This is his main thing, Vaishnavas. So there was a whole Jiva issue, turmoil was going on, and by the time he came to the GBC room, they said, we have already decided. I said, what? How did you decide? By vote. Because Americans believe in democracy, We voted out. Now everything is over. Siddhanta by vote. So he was like taken aback. And there was a video, I saw that. He said, my heart is paining. My heart is paining. They decided by vote. How can you decide by vote? Well, what are these sadhus and the Shastras are doing there? No consultation. So he was very, very sad about that. So, different occasions, he would, when I was in Germany, I went to one of his classes in Wiesbaden. Said, Maharaj, do you remember me? I asked him. Yes, what are you doing here, Well, I'm here right now, all entangled. Okay, then he was going to the farm. Then I also followed him to the farm, and he was giving a wonderful Bhagavatam class. And it was a pleasure to hear him, that full energy life class of his. So I conclude here. I offer my humble obeisances to Gour Govinda Maharaj, to all the Vaishnavas assembled here. Jai, all glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glory to Srila Prabhupada.
So I'm sorry that we extended a little bit, well, almost 45 minutes. That is my fault, excuse me. Let's pray that Madhananda Prabhu next year is here again to guide us with this glorification program. And so that I hope the prasadam is still there, but so for the invited people at the Pushpa Samadhi, what better? We already had.